Hello, students. Hope you are doing well. So, we have a text here on the basis of the critical structure based question. So, the text gives us the direction that called as a read the text and answer the questions below. Well, before we jump to the question, let's read the text. What does this text tell us to do? So, or what is the idea of the text? The text starts from history. So it says history is quite central to the idea of law. In my opinion, every lawyer is a historian of sorts because we are essentially arguing precedents of the past and convincing the judges as why a particular point is relevant. So a legal historian broadens their views with the sociological and anthropological viewpoints or perspectives, essentially laying down the implications of the law on the past and how it shapes our present society. Interestingly, legal history helps us understand where we come from and how our society is shaped. Now we have read the text. So if we look into that, so we find out that how the passage highlights the importance of history in the field of law. According to the author, you would find out that if the author points out every lawyer is in a way a historian. Why? Because they deal with past precedents. Past precedents means referring to the past decisions or past reference. Why? Now, while presenting arguments in court to convince judges, legal historians take this concept further by analyzing the implications of laws from implication of laws means called as a influencing laws from sociological and anthropological perspectives, exploring how they have influenced past societies and continue to shape the present. Even it is also stated at the end that interestingly, legal history helps us understand where we come from and how our society is shaped. It means legal history is seen as a way to understand the origins of laws and their impact or influence on society. By studying the historical context, legal professionals can gain valuable insights into the development of legal systems and how they have shaped the present social structure or yeah present legal structure. Now we have just understood what the text tries to explain. So on the basis of this text we have a question. So the question 10, which is asking about what? Now an assumption based question. So it is an assumption based question. So we understand that assumption is called as one of the type of the critical reasoning questions. So the meaning of assumption is called as a unstated region that we need to draw. Unstated region or regions on the basis of the text, on the basis of the passage, or on the basis of the argument that we need to draw. So it is nothing but a region that we have to derive from the passage. Now, look into the means options. So there are four options which have been provided here. Let's see that what these options are stating. Now, if you look into that, the first option, which is appointed here, that is called as a legal history. Legal historians focus solely on historical aspects when studying the law. Now, obviously, this option seems incorrect. Why? Now, because the passage uh, doesn't talk about or doesn't highlight that legal historians focus solely on historical aspects, right? So the idea which is pointed here that legal historians focus solely on historical aspects, so which is wrong actually. Legal historians focus solely on historical aspect when studying the law is incorrect. Why? Now, because the passage does not imply that legal historians exclusively focus on historical aspects when studying the law. Instead, means It mentions that in the passage that legal historians broaden their views, or we draw that legal historians broaden their views with the sociological and anthropological viewpoints or perspective, and that's how indicates that they consider multiple perspectives to understand the influence of the law on the past and present society. So, therefore, we consider option A is distorting the idea, and hence it is not the correct answer. Now, moving to the next option, option B. So, what option B states? Option B states here that lawyers do not consider historical precedents. So, lawyer do not consider, so what? Historical precedents when lawyers do not consider historical precedents when presenting arguments in court. Now, if you look into that, uh, the this option can be considered as the correct assumption, as the passage explicitly states that every lawyer is a historian of sorts, as per the passage given here. That what um, every lawyer, every lawyer is a historian of sorts, right? And also we find out that because they argue based on means based on precedents of the past. It means whatever the judgment is given in the past. So it is given here because we are essentially arguing precedents of the past, isn't it? Precedents of the past. So therefore, the assumption is definitely coming here that lawyers do consider historical precedents when presenting in court or presenting arguments in court. So you can say that lawyers do not consider historical precedents when presenting argument in uh, court, but that is how it's called as the idea which we draw means out of the text. So which will be called as lawyers do not consider historical precedent when presenting argument in court, right? So that could be called as a correct assumption, as the passage explicitly states that every lawyer is a historian of sorts because they argue based on precedents of the past. So, therefore, uh, so they do not consider historical precedent. They only consider what? That's something called as the decision which is made in the past, right? So, therefore, we consider means the focus to the past, isn't it? Now, coming to the next option, before we consider that option B uh, is the correct option, let's move to the option C. What does the option C say? Legal historians play a crucial role in shaping the development of the law. Now, if I talk about that, legal historians play a crucial role in shaping the future of the law, shaping the development of the law. Um, It is a kind of option which is also indicating that incorrect because the passage does not provide any information about legal historians shaping the development of the law. It focuses on how legal historians broaden their views, to understand the implications of the law on the past and present society, but it does not indicate that they directly shape the development of law. So, hence, we consider option C is also not correct or incorrect. Now, look into the option D. What does option D state here? So, option D stated understanding the historical context is not relevant for lawyers to be effective in their profession. Understanding the historical context is not relevant for lawyers to be effective in their profession. Now, if we see that uh, the passage strongly suggests the opposite, right? It states that every lawyer is a historian of such because they argue based on the precedents of the past. So that the decisions of the past. This implies that understanding the historical context is essential for lawyers to be effective in their profession, as they use historical precedents to convince judges and present their argument in court. So, therefore, option D also proves wrong, right? It is an incorrect. Hence, we can draw that option B becomes the correct assumption to the text, that lawyers do not consider historical precedents when presenting arguments in court. Therefore, it is stated that what means what you can get, or how history means helps us understand where we come from and how our society is shaped, isn't it? Legal history helps us understand where we come from and how our society is shaped. So that's why we consider um, option B would be the correct answer to the question. I hope you understood the text. Thank you and happy reading.